Hello everyone, welcome to another Chess Alien video. Today we're going to talk about the King's Indian defense and the Grunfeld defense. So, the two openings have a very common similarity. So, it starts after d4 or any other first move, we could say like knight f3 or something. We actually build the same setup, so the most common counter is d4, knight f6, c4, gaining queenside space, and then we play g6. So, a lot of our viewers would say, oh, why would you play g6? Aren't you supposed to develop in the center? Well, that's what people back then also think. So, this is called a hypermodern style of chess, where they believe that you can control the center not only by committing central pawns, but controlling the center from a distance. So, for example, the King's Indian defense. Let's say after knight c3, bishop g6, bishop g7, and then we can play e4. So it seems like white has built this very massive pawn center, but black can just play like d6. So it prevents e5 because if we just allow e5, let's say for example, after e5, if you go like here and then after g4, your knight is just trapped. So it's just bad. So we want to prevent e5 with the move d6, and then after that, no matter what he does, we can just castle. So the King's Indian defense, you basically just build like this little home. So you have a bishop on g7, you have the knight on f6, you have a castled king, you have a pawn on g6. So this is basically the game plan. So what marks this defense? And some people say, oh, it's kind of passive. It's actually not because let's say for example after bishop e2, we can strike back in the center with e5. So, some people would say, "Oh, wait, isn't that just a free pawn?" For example, takes. No, exactly. We can sacrifice the knight, a temporary sacrifice, because after takes back, we can play bishop takes e5. So here's the thing. First of all, you realize that his pawn center is just gone right now. Even though our pawn center is gone as well, his pawn center is also gone. But with under like something, because you realize that his bishop can't really leave the square because he has to guard this. For example, if you play this, oh, thank you for the pawn, and after it goes back, we can just go back. This is quite simple. So this is just how hypermodern chess works. So you first let them conquer the center, and then you will take it back later onwards. So going back, your opponent probably won't play that if he's advanced. So after this, for example, if he plays d5, don't worry. You can. There are a lot of ways to play this. There's knight a6. I would like to play, because you can hop into the c5 post. There are also moves like a5, gaining queenside space. There's also knight b to d7. It's the same thing as knight a5, except you want to reroute the knight here to pressure this central pawn. The game plan onwards is because, first of all, white has a significant space advantage, and you probably want to expand on the queen side. For you, what you really want to do is to bring the knight back and then push the f5 pawn and attack on the queen side. So after e5, d5 is not actually a main move. Instead, the main move is castles. And after knight c6, pressing the pawn, now d5 is a popular move. And after knight e7, now we can basically execute the same game plan. So for example, a lot of people will play like, oh, b4. And then I'll play, let's play knight e8. And then after onwards, even if he plays like a4 trying to expand, now we can counter strike with f5, gaining kingside space. And then if he plays a5, now we can play f takes e4 as well. We can also play f4, just like gaining kingside space. So a critical thing in chess is that it really depends on where your pawn chain points at. So if your pawn chain points at the king side, you attack on the king side. If your pawn chain is pointing at the queen side, here I guess it's this little pawn chain, you're attacking on the queen side. So that's basically how the game really works. If you really want to master how to attack in the King's Indian defense, you can watch. I'll show you an example game later onwards. So this is the King's Indian defense. So I really want you to play the King's Indian defense when he commits the move e4. If he does not commit to the move e4, for example, you can play like knight f3. We can actually play the move d5. It's called a transposition. It's called the Grunfeld defense. So the major part of the Grunfeld defense is after takes. It seems like white can gain a big pawn center with the move e4. Actually, it's not, because after takes, despite it looks like a good structure, black can counter strike with the move c5. So just undermining the pawn structure. Because if you take, guess what? Free rook. Thanks so much. You see, there's the free rook. So that's a major part of the Grunfeld defense, just like undermining the center. The mainline Grunfeld does not go like this. It goes with the d5 first, after takes, and then here, and here. You realize that he didn't develop the knight, and we just did the bishop, so we don't play c5 immediately. But the setup is like really similar. So first of all, you really want to play c5. And then if he plays, like, let's say he develops naturally, like anything else, we can just, like, castle, and then we can bring the queen to a5, just, like, pressuring the pawn. So, you don't really have to worry about the center. The center is really, really, like, weak. If he plays e5, for example, it's actually not that good, because we can play queen a5. And sometimes we can even play queen c7, sometimes we can even play. And the development is basically you want to bring the bishop here, just like in like the Caro-Kann. Like you kind of want to trade off this, and after that you can play like knight c6, and then you would have a pretty comfortable game. After all this explaining, let's just put it this way. So, normally you want to set up this little cozy little home, like with this. If he commits with e5, play d6, and then we can play the King's Indian. Your King's Indian attack is to go on the king side, and then the white is gonna go on the queen side. So I really wish you to like study some example games, probably some Hikaru games, because Hikaru is kind of like an expert at the King's Indian defense. If he does not commit to e5, I actually recommend the Grunfeld defense. For example, like this. We can play the Grunfeld defense. It's very nice. You can undermine the center. So understanding hypermodern chess is one of the big step forward in your chess skills. So let's analyze one of the games against in the King's Indian defense against Hikaru Nakamura versus Wesley So. So this is the game. We have d4, knight f6, c4, e6, and after knight c3, bishop g7, and then e5. So Wesley So has committed to this opening. He played e4, and now you can play d6 to stop white from playing e5. And after knight f6, castles, and bishop e2, we go e5, castles, knight c6, and after d5, we go knight e7. So this is what we discussed. This is like a mainline position, and Wesley went knight back. So basically, the point of knight e1, it doesn't seem like it's just a move. It's actually to reroute the knight here to d3 to support a future onwards c5 push, because as we know, white really wants to attack on the queen side. So after that, Hikaru went knight d7. So it's kind of like retreating back to like knight d8, but here knight d7 is actually okay as well. So Hikaru went knight d7, and Wesley played f3. So f3 is kind of like a prophylaxis. So he predicted that there's going to be attack on the file, on the f file. So he really wants to play that. It's also for something else, because white really wants to play bishop e3. But if you play bishop e3 right now, there's going to be f4 later on, where it's trying to kick out the bishop. So this is the f3 is like a multi-purpose move. So Wesley went f3, and then now Hikaru went for f5, expanding on the king side. Wesley indeed went bishop e3 after that, and then Hikaru played f4. So Wesley retreated the bishop back next move. So that's why we see f3 is actually a very good move. And now, as we see in the video, we realize that the pawn chain is pointing this way, and the pawn chain is pointing this way. So you're trying to attack on the queen side because you have more queen side space. Why? Because you have this very big triangle. Let's draw a triangle real quick. So you have this much space, and then white only has like this much space. So black is suffocated on the queen side. However, let's draw a triangle on the king side. So black has this much space. Sorry. After here, we can draw a big triangle, and then white only has this much space. So you realize that white is suffocated on the king side. So that's why the attacks are on like the two sides. The way to like attack on both sides is to make sure the center is locked. If the center is not locked, then you're probably kind of cooked if you're the one initiating an attack because your center is not stable. But since the center is locked, we're attacking on the flanks. So here in this position, Hikaru went g5, just like trying to gain more space on the king side. Wesley went knight d3. That's the move we talked about. That's why he brought the knight back to e1. And then Hikaru went knight g6. Another mainline move is like knight f6, and then after knight c6. But it doesn't really matter. It's just like a move order difference. The engine sometimes can be subjective. And then after that, we can play knight g6. And after that, we see the purpose of Wesley's move, c5. So c5, it gains space on the queen side and attacks this pawn. So this pawn is a part of this king side pawn chain. So let's see what Hikaru does. So Hikaru just went with knight f6. He's like, oh, take my pawn. Because if you take, it's still going to be a pretty massive pawn chain. And for some reason, you kind of you kind of broke your pawn chain on the queen side. So that's something to know. Hikaru went knight f6. And then after rook c1, Hikaru went with the move rook f7. So a lot of people would say, oh, why rook f7? Oh, rook f7 is actually a very, very high level and a very common move in the King's Indian defense. So the rook has two purposes. So the first purpose is to defend the c7 square because white is gonna stockpile pressure. For example, like knight b5 and then put pressure here. So the rook and the queen really guards the square really well. But also the rook is very essential when it comes to the kingside attack. After the pieces clear out, the rook can have an open file, sometimes even sacrificing himself, as we will see in the game. After this, white went king h1, anticipating attack, so just moving out of it, and then Hikaru went h5, attacking on the king side. Wesley in this position took, it's okay, and then we took back with the c pawn, and after that we see knight b5, a great move, but in this position we can see why Hikaru's move is very handy because we're guarding this pawn. Hikaru in this position played a6, which is sort of an inaccuracy. The best move here in this position would be g4, just attacking. Despite white can actually win a pawn here, it's actually not that good because we can play like bishop d7 and then continue our attack on the queen side, on the king side. So Hikaru doesn't find it. It's okay. A6 is kind of more like a more human move, and then Wesley went back to the knight on the corner. It's actually not that good because a knight will be more powerful in the center. But we're not too sure about what Wesley's thinking about. So he went his knight back, and then Hikaru went b4. So b4 is actually a very, very good move. So b4 basically prevents the knight from hopping back to the c4 square, which is very essential. It also kind of like stops some queenside play later onwards, so he can focus more on his kingside play. So b4, very, very nice move. And in this position, white played rook c6, probably just like targeting this pawn. It's actually a mistake, because I mean, like after g4, we're not pretty sure, but the best move here is here, bishop f8, and then probably later onwards we want to kick out the rook. The King's Indian is very like complex, so sometimes there are gonna be inaccuracies in the game. So in this position, white went g4, black went g4 anyway, just like saying, oh, I'm attacking. What are you gonna do? And in this position, Wesley played queen c2, just like lining up a battery. That's the main point, having more queenside play. And then Hikaru in this position played queen f6. This is actually actually like a mistake because in this position, white can actually reroute his bishop back, and then probably like attack the pawn center like this. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to find. The King's Indian can be very complicated. But Queen f6 looks very human to me. And then maybe onwards he can even play like after Queen f6, even onwards. I don't know. So Bishop here would be better because you would still have two defenses on this. Even if it's not that good of a move because you allow g3, and if he plays here, it's not that big of a threat because you have one, two, two defenders, and then you have one, two attackers. So it's not gonna work out. That's the main point. So, back to the game. Queen f8 was played. It was okay because Wesley played in this position, played rook c1, just like stockpiling on the pressure on the bishop. Hikaru in this position played bishop d7, of course, moving the bishop out of danger. And in this position, Wesley made a mistake. It's rook to c7, somewhat of a mistake. In this position, Hikaru played bishop h6, probably extracting the rook later in the future. And in this position, Wesley went bishop e1, probably like putting pressure on this pawn. This pawn is like very, very pressurized. He's taking advantage of the fact that the queen is here, and then the bishop is actually not guarding the pawn. And in this position, Hikaru just went h4. H4 is a very bold move, just like attacking on the king side. And then in this position, Wesley went h takes g4. It looks like a very natural capture though. Like at first glance, I don't see the issue of the move. But in this position, Hikaru played f3. It seems like a double attack, and if you move the rook away, you lose the bishop. If you move the bishop away, your rook is gone. So in this position, Wesley went g takes f3. A normal human being would probably say, "Oh, I would just take the rook." It's actually not that good, to be honest. It's actually equal right now. It's actually considered a mistake right now, but we'll see in the game. We'll see in the game. In this position, Hikaru played knight takes e4. This is so unexpected. Unexpected. You don't understand the idea behind this move because after takes, you have this brilliant move, rook to f1, rook to f1. Just like sacrificing the rook. You can't really take it because it's just like checkmate. And if he goes here, there's the move bishop e3. We'll see in the future. This move comes really in handy. Okay, but like in this position, Wesley did not take the gift. In this position, Hikaru played rook takes f3. Brilliant move. Just like reinforcing the idea of this. What's the point? Because after takes, first of all, there's like a little fork here. If he moves the king here, don't worry. We can actually play here. H3, threatening checkmate. It seems like you've blundered a bishop. No, you haven't, because after check, it's basically checkmate. It's basically because of this. Yeah. This is kind of hard to spot. This is like some grandmaster level tactics. Even if you block with the queen, we can take with check. There's a pin. Yeah, so that's the first layer. So in the Hikaru in this position played rook takes, and after in the game, Wesley took the bishop. Hikaru reinforces the idea of rook f1, sacrificing the rook. You can't take because of the checkmate. So Wesley went here, of course, and bishop e1, sacrificing the rook again. What happens if you take the rook though? I was wondering. So no, because after check, takes, check with the knight here, and then check with the queen, which is checkmate. This is kind of hard to spot. Let's just say that I was about to queen check here. So this is just like some grandmaster level stuff. So, but it proves the idea of how strong your pieces can be after your pawns are cleared out and your king exposed. And now the major threat is here rook check, and then this is basically like a checkmate. And sorry, back to the game. In this position, Wesley played here, bishop g3, just like sacrificing the bishop, but opening up a line out of attack on the rook. And Hikaru in this position played taking the bishop, very natural. But people think, oh, what if Wesley just took the rook? Check. That's basically the main idea. It's basically what just happened in the game. If he goes here, congratulations, you can just like check, and then it's actually a checkmate. Wesley went here. After that, we can play queen h6, and we're threatening check here. And then after that, Wesley just blundered a pawn. Check here, and after that, Hikaru in this position played a knight f3. The reason is that you can't really take the knight sacrifice because we have queen h3 here, checkmate. And in this position, Wesley is basically just like lost because there's basically a forced checkmate here. because if your pieces are all surrounded, even despite your being up 9 points of material, you're eventually gonna get checkmated. So this is how the very nice checkmate went, and this is how you can play the king's Indian defense. Moving on, we can actually show a very famous game in the Grunfeld defense. So white is Donald Byrne, a famous U.S. championship, and playing the black pieces is one of the greatest players of all time, Bobby Fischer. So let's start with the game. Knight of 3, knight of 6. As we remember, the king's Indian defense, it can play against d4, c4, knight of 3, like even like everything. You can play against everything. I actually don't recommend playing against e4. E4, you have many very famous defenses like the Sicilian, like the Caracon, like the French. Like play anything. Don't play this. It's actually not that good if you play the king's Indian against this. So in this position, white went c4, gaining some queenside space. This transposes to something called the English opening. We can talk about that. Bobby Fischer's following the setup after knight c3, bishop g7, d4. Now, as we said before, if he did not commit to the central pawn push, we'll play d5. We can castle first, and then if he does not commit to the central pawn push in this position, we can play d5. So d5 transposes to the Grunfeld defense. It's a very hypermodern stuff. As we mentioned before, if takes e5, takes. We still have the same idea to pressure. In the game, Donald Byrne is grandmaster. He didn't play it. Instead, he opted for here, queen b3. It's called the Russian defense. Back in the day, I'm not sure if it's called the Russian defense. It's probably what the Soviet Union is. So Bobby Fischer just took because you want the queen to move around a bit. And then the queen got its exercise, and then Bobby Fischer played the Caracon defense, c6, to prevent the double attack. And in this position, Donald Byrne played e5. So e5 just occupies the center. E5 preparing for like some probably like e4, preparing for e5 later onwards in the game. Bobby Fischer went knight to knight knight d7. So I'm not sure if it's a good move or not, but like if you play this, you can also have this, and then the principle behind it is very easy. You just really want to bring your knight here. Computer says it's an accuracy, like he wants you to play queen a5, like in the Grunfeld. But let's say that Bobby Fischer's the go. He can play whatever he wants to play. And in this position, Donald Byrne went rook d1, so extraying on the queen later onwards. You can't take it right now, but like there's gonna be pressure here. In this position, Bobby Fischer indeed went knight b6, attacking the queen, and Bobby Fischer moved queen c5. Queen c5 is an accuracy. It's very subtle. It does set up for a very nice little tactic later onwards in the game. So in this position, Bobby Fischer played bishop g4, developing the bishop, very good move, pinning the knight to the rook. In this position, though, Donald Byrne played bishop g5. Bishop g5 is a blunder. He just wants to mirror, but there's no pin on the queen. And at first glance, you don't see where the blunder is. Knight a4. Knight a4 is why queen c5 is sort of an inaccuracy, because if the queen was here, you probably not allow knight a4. Knight a4 is brilliant. Let's just put it this way. If you take the knight, first of all, we can take the pawn in the center of the board. And you realize something, like, despite, like, black can take this, but after here, sacrificing the queen, even if he takes, you can check, white can do whatever he wants, and now you can take the knight. So, it seems like, it seems like black has gained back his material under perfect play, but guess what? You gain a pawn, and then this pawn is a pawn island. This pawn is a pawn island. So there are a lot of weaknesses in white's position that black can exploit. And back here, there's not really too much of a good way to defend defend the bishop and the queen at the same time. So forcing them to give up one of them. And in this position, Donald Byrne did not take the knight, so he went for queen a3. So Bobby Fischer just, okay, I'll trade the knights. And then in this position, Bobby Fischer played takes. A lot of people would say, "Oh wait, isn't there a fork here?" Indeed, Donald Byrne did play this move, and in this position, Bobby Fischer played Queen B6. It seems like you can take, but after takes, it's not that good, because the best move here is Queen B3, like threatening to exchange queens. The best move here is another knight sacrifice, because if you take the queen, sure, but like you can take back. Despite the rook is kind of under attack, you can go like for like here. They're just like too much. There's just like too much after bishop b4. Yeah, that's just too much. Like you can go here, you can threaten a fork. Despite black being down the exchange, his pieces are so well that the engine gives a minus 4.9 advantage to black, which means that Bobby Fischer's winning. So that's like a little sideline. So taking the rook actually isn't that good of a move. So Donald Byrne is smart. He did not play. He played the move bishop c4, just developing a bishop. And in this position, Bobby Fischer played the move knight takes c3. Knight takes c3. It basically prepares for this. Or this. Let's say this. Rook a to e7. The reason why rook e to e7 is not that good of a move because after castles, takes. I mean, there's this apparently, and black is winning, but he's not as winning as rook a to e7. That's how chess works. Sometimes things are very subtle, and if he tries to defend the bishop, boom, there's you can take the knight, ruin his pawn structure, and then later onwards you can play queen. You can play like queen c7 or like queen d8. Just like attacking the bishop. The bishop is unsavable, and even after all the trades, white is left with those isolated pawns, which is very bad. This pawn is basically under multiple attacks. Yeah, so that's what basically happened. In this position, Bobby Fischer did back here, back here after takes. He went back. So Don Byrne say, "Oh, I'm not taking your knight." And in this position, Bobby Fischer played a check, intermediate move. White slides his king here, and a lot of people would say, "Oh, my queen's under attack. My knight is under attack, and there's no winning of the bishop anymore. Am I just losing?" No. Bobby Fischer in this position played bishop e6. Brilliant move. There are many layers to this. We'll talk about taking the queen, like the most obvious one, lastly. So the first layer is what if I should take the bishop and reinforcing the bishop, where there's mate. The mate is called smothered mate because after here, queen sack, here, that's checkmate. The king is smothered in with his own pieces. This is a tactical motif that many chess players should know. Back here in this position, if white takes the knight, you can take the bishop because after here, uh, black is successfully equalized. After takes, Bobby Fischer's up a pawn. There's an isolated pawn. There's a weak pawn here, and Bobby Fischer has the bishop. I feel like the bishop is very much better than the knight right here. The bishop has more flexibility, so black is winning. That's the second layer to this. The third layer to this is the last layer, just like taking the queen. It's, I mean, like it's not that good of a move because we can play check here, check here. I mean, you can claim a draw by like this, but like Bobby Fischer isn't playing for a draw; he's playing for the win. In this position, after king back, Bobby Fischer went knight takes d4. So the importance of this move is not only a pawn; it's to provide a support later onwards. So after here, check, here, here. The difference right now is that since without the d pawn, the bishop is protecting the knight. So that's the difference maker. So after Donald brought his bishop back, Bobby Fischer took the pawn. And in this position, the queen is under attack, the rook is under attack. You cannot save both of them. In the game, Donald Byrne went here, and then Fischer went rook a4, preventing this. And on the next move, Bobby Fischer just won the rook. And after a few moves, let's just look at the position right now. We got a knight for knight. We got a rook for rook. We got two bishops and a rook, which is four, which is 3 plus 3 plus 5, which is 11. This is 9. So Bobby Fischer is up 2 points technically. He's also up a pawn, by the way. So, and that pawn is gonna fall apart later onwards. So Fischer's completely winning. He's up like 1,000 pieces of material. And after that, this is just like a slow conversion game. And at the very end, Fischer demonstrated a minor piece checkmate here. So that's the power of hypermodern chess, the Fiancanos. So if you want to learn more chess content, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much.